All right, Spencer Petras, so former Iowa Hawkeye and most recently Utah State Aggie quarterback. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining me.
Doing great. Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and just get started real quick. San Rafael, California, where you grew up. Just talk about a little bit what it was like growing up there and when you got introduced to football and what ultimately made you want to play quarterback.
Yeah, it was great growing up in San Rafael. It's in a really cool part of the country, I think, just outside of San Francisco, but close enough to be able to kind of experience all that. And it's close to Napa Valley, everything. So it was really cool. And I was always a big sports fan growing up, and always loved football. I didn't start playing tackle football till eighth grade, but was always playing at school and played a lot of flag football. And I just was always the quarterback because I was tall, I was slow, and I could throw the piss out of the ball even as a youngin. And so, yeah, that's why I wanted to do it. And um, yeah, then when I went to high school, that was the goal.
Any family background in football?
No, not really. My dad wasn't really much of an athlete. He's a doctor and was in the army for a while, but not not a huge athlete. My mom played softball and volleyball, but nothing, no football really. My uncle I think played like freshman year, and then that was it. So
Yeah. Yeah, so you're like me, you're the trailblazer for football in the family. So you went ahead and went to Meriden Catholic for high school. I've had a huge career there, breaking quite a few records of notable alumni, Jared Goff, who was also a star there at Meriden Catholic. But just kind of what you were alluding to right now, not much family background in football, kind of starting to play later than some might expect for someone of your caliber. When did things really start to click for you football wise, would you say, that led to that kind of success in high school?
yeah, I don't really think that anything really clicked fully in my mind until like my senior year. My freshman year of high school, I was the backup quarterback on the freshman team, and there was another freshman on the JV team playing quarterback. So like, I was really the third quarterback. Played D end, broke my arm in the second game of the season playing defensive end. So obviously like a slow start to high school, and then was able to win the job on the JV team the next year. And I think the biggest thing was that I was mostly all traits, like freshman through junior year. Like I had a big arm, I had great work ethic, I was smart, but the like actually playing quarterback, like even my junior year, after I got mostly all my offers after my junior year, but I think it was really my senior year when I really started to play at a super high level, just all around, like decision making, accuracy, big arm, moving the chains of my feet, like that kind of thing. So yeah, like my senior year was when it really clicked.
So after senior year, and I mean, I guess when you started playing all throughout high school, according to 24/7, what I was looking at, you had a good amount of activity going on recruiting wise. I think I saw like 14 offers or something like that. At one point, committed to Oregon State. What was your whole recruiting journey like? How do you handle that part of your experience that ultimately led to you being an Iowa Hawkeye?
Yeah, it was almost like in my mind two separate processes. When I committed to Oregon State, that was like May of my junior year. So it was after my junior fall. I would say that like, I had whatever schools I had back then, made that decision because I wanted to go into my senior year with no distractions on the recruiting side of things. And there was a number of factors that led to choosing Oregon State, and I was really happy with that decision. That's what I was going to do. The biggest thing, like, so one in my senior year, like I mentioned, like I was playing at a much higher level, like more so than just a junior to senior jump. Like I was playing at a much higher level than I was as a junior, and more schools were coming in and interested. I was committed to Oregon State, but then that was, way back then was Gary Anderson was the head coach, and he had left the program at Oregon State halfway through the season, basically. I want to say like early October or mid October of my senior fall. And so then at that point, not only did I have that unknown of who the head coach was going to be and all the things that come with that, but I was playing at a much higher level and was getting interest from schools that were not interested the first time around. What eventually became the biggest thing for me was really two things, like the after all the headache and the unknowns regarding the coaching situation at Oregon State, like Iowa football and Coach Ferentz and the stability and success they've had over the years was like super attractive to me. And then additionally, just especially back then, because that was before Mahomes was who he is now, and the game, it was before the game had fully completely changed. Like, it was still pretty important to be a part of a pro style offense, and be able to
Yeah.
go under center and in a huddle, and that's who I was. That's who I am. I'm a pro style guy in the the old school pro style quarterback, and that's who Iowa is, and that's who Iowa was, and so that was a huge part of it too.
And then I know there's been a connection with you and Jared Goff, obviously, coming out of Marin High School, probably answered like 9,000 questions about it. But just for some people who don't know, I know you guys aren't really super close and stuff like that, but there's been that open line of communication. Can you just take us back to some of your interactions with him and what's some of the best advice he's given you and some things you've taken away from that connection you've had with him?
Yeah, he's always been great. I think one thing I recognized at a certain point was when I was younger, I probably reached out more than I should have. Like, having maybe been in not the same situations, but similar on the flip side now. Like, the coolest thing was that he was always responsive and great. And that means a lot for a young football player, especially like I remember vividly, like him keeping up with our team my senior year of high school, and um, same thing, at Iowa, and then yeah, really just whenever I needed, I had I remember we were playing Michigan in the Big Ten championship game, and their pass rush was really damn good that year with Hutchinson, who obviously is now teammates with Jared, but along with a number of guys. And I remember just like game week, I like shot him a text, hey, like what do you do to deal with a great pass rush like as a quarterback? And boom, within an hour, he hits me with a great response. And that's just been the coolest part, and the part that I've grown to appreciate the most is that he was never big time. He was never like this freaking kid from my high school keeps texting me, like, geez, like, never. He was always great, always gave super genuine, authentic responses. And yeah, that's just, I think, a mark of his character, and shows that he's a really good dude, because he didn't have to do that. And it's not easy to do that. So that was great.
I'm sure that rubbed off on you in all the right ways too, and the way you carry yourself now. So you get to Iowa as an early enrollee, which I assume was quite the transition in itself for you at that time. But purely from the standpoint of going from somewhere like San Rafael, California, to Iowa City, Iowa, polar opposites in a lot of ways, I imagine. What was that transition like, and what stood out the most with that adjustment that you had to go through?
Yeah, I mean, obviously moving and the homesickness and all that stuff that comes with going to college and going somewhere halfway across the country, essentially. That was all a part of it. Like, that was a challenge, but that's not foreign, right? That's a very normal thing. And especially, like, I think for early enrollees, you're missing some of the most fun times of high school, from what I've heard, right? Is like that second semester, senior year, people know where the hell they're going. You're just there to hang with your buddies. You know what I mean? And so I think there was like kind of like a FOMO, that like emotional side of things too. But more than anything, it was the weather was rough. Like, I mean, it's rare if it's in the 40s back home, like during the day, even at its coldest, like maybe it's like 43, and it's a big deal. It's on the news and stuff. And then, you move to Iowa, and it's like -10 in the mornings walking to football, because I didn't have a moped or a car or anything yet. So that was probably, in hindsight, the biggest thing. In the moment, it was all the emotional stuff of leaving home and missing people, that kind of thing. But that that goes with time. Like, you get used to where you're at, and you learn to love new people, that kind of thing.
Yeah, would you say you got settled in relatively quickly there? Like summer, you're already good to go for your freshman year?
I mean, really, I think it was like once we got to spring ball, I was good because like once you
Yeah.
start practicing with the team, you don't really feel as much like an outsider. And the guys on the team did a great job of making me feel welcome. But there's only so much you can do early on, especially. But once you're in it and practicing, and at that point, you've met friends, you made friends, and have guys you can talk to, and so on. Um, that was when it really started to like feel, oh yeah, like this is I'm back to normal life, if you will.
And then looking back at your time at Iowa, you accomplished a lot. 3 year starter, 20 wins under your leadership, a Big Ten championship appearance, two bowl games, honorable mention after that first year start in 2020. Then in 2022, your season gets cut short there at the end with that really bad shoulder injury, I believe it was, against Nebraska. But up until that point, from 2018 to 2022, can you just describe what that experience of being the quarterback for the Iowa Hawkeyes was like? I mean, just from waiting your turn behind a guy like Nate Stanley and to stepping into the starting role, leading the team for multiple seasons, just from your eyes, what was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, it was the best experience I've ever had as a part of any program or team, whatever. And it was also the hardest thing I've ever done. It was two things can be true at once. I loved every year had its unique highs and lows, and more than anything, I just have, and I'm still like this today. I'm so proud of the program I was a part of, and the part that I played in um, our teams, and just I believe Iowa football does things the right way and does things at a high level consistently, and I'll always be extremely proud of that. It was also like very challenging at times, and especially for me personally, just it's documented the struggles our offense had during some of those years. That was really challenging, and every season has its own ups and downs and adversity that you have to face. But more than anything, I remember how how proud I am to be an Iowa Hawkeye, and just loved being a part of the program.
Something I'm always really curious about, especially with quarterbacks and guys who have been in some big time spotlights. Playing quarterback at a place like Iowa comes with, again, like I said, that massive spotlight, obviously. I heard you tell a story on, I think it was the Washed Up Walk Ons podcast, about Nate Stanley, and you were sitting next to him on a plane, and you guys had just gotten back from an away game, and right when he opened his phone, like the notifications started going crazy. And you kind of told him, hey, put that stuff away. And in today's world, especially with quarterbacks, there's no escaping scrutiny. I mean, it's louder than it ever was, and it's probably just going to keep getting louder. Who knows where things are going to be down the line? But especially in a position like you were in, I heard you say, until that part of you dies that cares about it, you have to kill it, or it's going to get beaten out of you. That's a pretty interesting way of putting it. I've never heard someone put it that way before. So that part of the part of you that dies, you have to kill it. What did that look like for you, and when did you turn the corner in that aspect of things? Did you put something in place, deleting social media outright, or is it something that just kind of came naturally as you matured more and more?
Yeah, it definitely. I think it comes naturally over time. I think that deleting social media is like a very it's like putting a band-aid on it, right? Like it helps in the short term, right? When it first happens, like the first game you start as a quarterback that does not go well and your team loses or whatever, like a good short-term thing is delete social media, don't look at it so you don't know what the hell's out there. But I don't think that's a permanent that's not a solution, right? That's just kind of like it just helps in the moment. I just think that the full killing that part of it, like how I phrased it, I guess, is just like the more you go, the longer you're a part of the game of football, the more times you go through adversity and hard times where your head is on the chopping block or whatever the case may be. You just learn that it's irrelevant to how you do your business. Like what what is truly important is how people that you respect and that you value the opinion of, it's how they feel about you and whether they think you're doing your job or not, that kind of thing. And I don't think that you can ever fully grasp that until you go through hard times, and yeah, I mean, it's just there's just like we all grow up as kids, like you cheer for the quarterback of the team. You want to be a quarterback because part of it is it's fun, but the other part is like Patrick Mahomes is the everyone knows who he is. There's an ego part to it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be the best quarterback in the NFL, right? Like who doesn't? And that's always kind of a part of you, like the seeking and chasing the glory of the game of football is it's a part of you until you just experience the kind of the negative and negative parts, downside of thinking like that, of putting your own self-worth or your own happiness or how you feel about yourself in the hands of the public that doesn't, they don't know the plays, they don't know what I'm supposed to do on any given play. They don't know what kind of leader I am or whatever the case may be. And it just, yeah, like I said, it just comes with time, and it gets beaten out of you if you're not careful.
And after the injury in 2022, you're in a weird spot, which is totally understandable. I mean, seeing that the recovery after the surgery was going to take a while and maybe go into another school for that 2023 season, just given what the road to recovery would be, maybe being cleared August, September might not be ideal for that to be your first time coming back playing football after an injury like that. So you opt to stay at Iowa for that 2023 season. If I'm not mistaken, you served in a role that was titled non-student football assistant.
Yeah.
I believe I got that right. What were your core responsibilities in that role, and what was that season like for you?
Yeah, it was so during a game week, I was responsible for the advanced scouting in terms, I would run the numbers, get the stats, tendencies, their base structure, both front and on the back end. What are their top pressures, like that kind of stuff for the staff. I made the look tapes for the staff. Meaning like, okay, here's normal down distance by formation of the last 6 games. Here's third down, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Then obviously it was did a lot with the scout team, the defensive scout team. I was the linebacker coach for the scout team, so not only are I'm drawing cards for the whole scout team, but making sure that I'm understanding the techniques that their linebackers play, and if there's any tendencies or tells pre-snap, trying to get the guys to mimic that as best they can. And then I also did a lot with the tapes that needed to be made for like Friday nights in the hotel, that kind of thing. And yeah, then on game day I was the signaler. So yeah, it was a real job. And yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was fun. It was obviously different than the prior 5 years had been, or especially the last three. Going from starting quarterback at a place to like not a GA, but basically a GA. But I enjoyed it, and it was cool and fun to be a part of the same program, but on the other side, like getting to know the coaches maybe at a deeper level than I had, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's obviously a very unique part of your story. I mean, I played college football, and then after that, I became a QC at FIU. I had to wait though, obviously, till after I graduated, and that was like my job right out of college. I mean, you got to do this while you were still eligible, and I know you had mentioned that you want to be a coach in the future. I don't know if that's still ringing true right now, but I mean, what an experience that must have been to see the game from a different perspective. I just wanted to ask real quick, what kind of impact did that have on you as a quarterback going forward? Do you think it made you a better quarterback looking at the game through that lens and getting that experience?
For sure, for sure. Like it definitely helped from a like on the field standpoint. Like I think especially preparation wise, like being able when you understand structure better and just at a deeper level, especially of a defense, like it was easier to be able to throughout the week find tells or okay, like what information is actually helpful here and how do I find it, like that. Just my knowledge of the game improved a lot. um, but more than anything, I think just the like I gained a better perspective for uh, that was helpful for playing quarterback and being an athlete. Like when you're in that coaching role, as I'm sure you know, like I feel like all of the some of the things that I used to worry about as a player before I started coaching, you realize how stupid and like what a waste of time it is. You know, like biggest thing I thought was like I was so caught up like and I you know because your dream and all you think about is like okay how the heck do I get to the NFL, right? Like and sometimes that can be so consuming that it you lose joy. You like you lose the fun of the game because even practices, if it wasn't perfect, it's like, well, now I'm not going to have as good a game as I could have, and that's how am I going to go to the NFL? You know, whatever. Like all this BS that I think a lot of athletes probably think about. And then like once I was removed from that, just being able to go into this past season of like, dude, playing football is one of the most fun things you can do in your whole life. Your chances to do it, no matter how good you are shorter than you'd like. I just wanted to go out and enjoy every moment. And it's not like as simple, it's not like it was that easy, but that was the biggest thing was just kind of new perspective of just like enjoy playing football. It's such a beautiful thing, like not to sound corny, but, and it's such a short, like, no one plays for as long as they want, except for Tom Brady, you know? So
Yeah,
just go out there.
literally one of one. But yeah, man, I'd be remiss to say I'm yeah a little bit jealous of you. I mean, I remember once I got that first QC gig at FIU right after I was done playing. I always say I got my master's in football
Yeah.
for 3 years there at FIU. That just thinking back to what I knew, just the things I learned after the first year of doing it, how that would have helped me as a quarterback in college. But here we are.
Yeah.
So 2023 season ends. You're good to go play somewhere else. You got that COVID year of eligibility, and your recruitment opens up again. How did you end up landing at Utah State? What was that process like? Going into the portal, and just a quick observation. I mean, did the fact that Utah State's uniforms match your high school uniforms to a T factor at all into the decision, or what? Did that add another layer of familiarity? What was that like?
That's some good journalism right there. That's
Yeah.
deep connection. No, the uniforms did not play a part. It was more than anything. It was um, like we played at Iowa. We played Utah State in 2023, and obviously I didn't play. You know, I was prepping for their defense, but um, I was very interested in that scheme, just like as a future coach. Like I loved the hypo like wide split offense. Like I think it was really cool, especially for me. Like my best physical trait is my arm and my arm strength, and like how cool and just the problems it gives defenses was always like pretty interesting to me. And they were the first school to like really reach out because I hit the portal in like October I think because my I was a grad you know I was able to kind of go about the process faster and different than a lot of teams or a lot of players have to rather. And I just remember vividly like I turned on the tape to see like okay like how could I would I be successful here? Is this what I want? And just scheme wise, it was so awesome. And they had a lot of really good players that were all coming back, especially like at the offensive skill positions. That yeah, it was a pretty quick like I didn't want to go through this drawn out process because I think especially being on the other side, being in a coaching role, it's like I don't need to play the game of like how many cool uniform photo shoots can I take? Like I was
Yeah.
just once the scheme fit and I thought it was a fit, like just personnel wise, I was in and pulled the trigger.
Getting to Utah State, it's always interesting to hear from guys like you that you get to a totally new program, totally new place, totally different from Iowa City. Now you're in Logan, Utah, different landscape and all that. But you were an established starter at a big time program, and you get to your new 1 year home, pretty much is what it is. And what was it like adjusting and assimilating to that new spot, and especially with the position that you were going into play? I mean, you were going into playing quarterback, so letting the guys on that team know who you were and what you were there to do. What was that like initially getting there those first few days, first few weeks in Logan?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was the biggest thing I felt was because they were very clear, like it was an open competition. Like I wasn't promised anything. Like it wasn't. Um, we had four guys that had, in that room last spring that had started games. Two at Utah State the year before, and then myself and another guy that had played at two different schools. So anyway, point being, I didn't want to be the guy that comes in and tries to be like super vocal. Like just, I kind of just want to earn respect of everyone the first semester, especially before we started spring ball. Of just like here's who I am, here's what I'm about. Like I'm I work hard, I do things right, so on and so forth. And then as spring ball and the quarterback competition just like progressed, I was at that point I felt comfortable being more vocal and kind of more of the like being more authentic with my style of leadership and just kind of making it into my team, if you will. Not that you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, like I just think it's important to you got to earn the respect of the people in the building, especially your teammates, before you try and do anything. And that was the main goal at first.
Yeah, and then this past season at Utah State, 2024 season, a lot of noise before the season. The team probably did not perform up to expectations, in your eyes. But individually, you put up some good numbers, 2,300 plus yards, yards per game, and completion leader in the Mountain West. Honorable mention All Mountain West. And I have a ton of respect for quarterbacks, and I mean people in general, who can be great despite things. So I commend you for what you did this season. I hope you are proud of what you were able to do. But can you just describe this season through your eyes? Battling through injury, being a catalyst for a really highly productive offense, and then leading the team in general, and how everything you went through before at Iowa kind of contributed to being able to ride this season out and do the things you were able to do that are worthy of acknowledging.
Yeah. Well, yeah. First, thank you. That's appreciate that. I am proud of what I did, what we did this past season. I think that the most helpful thing was just my experience. Like it's we had our highs and our lows. We had our adversity even before the season, like you mentioned. And I think that having been a part, it was my seventh year of college football. Six as a player, but having that experience is just it makes it all easier and really just that like stuff happens and you just kind of keep going to work and trying to get better. And yeah, like the injury, injuries were frustrating. Like second quarter of the first game, I sprained my ankle pretty bad and had to miss, the next 2.5 games or whatever. But same thing. I mean, it's just like anything, right? Like you just, what happened, what can I do about it? Like just heal and do as best I can. And then, yeah, coming back, we were like, we were super productive offensively, but um, we weren't productive enough to win as many games as we wanted, especially that kind of stretch when I came back and we had a pretty tough schedule for the most part. But just again, like just staying the course, coming to work every day, and just trying to get better and trying to enjoy every moment. And then yeah, we got to we were humming at the end, and we lost our best player, week
Yeah.
7 or something like that, and we were able to still score some points, win some games, and obviously, unfortunately, I got hurt again at the end of the season. But yeah, I was just proud of everyone, how we handled all that we did.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of that mentality comes into the next thing that I'm going to ask that I just kind of want to get a little bit more in depth on. When it comes to two specific moments in your career playing, I want to take you back to Penn State 2021 and then Wyoming 2024 this year. Two games where you were an integral part of coming back from behind. Is there anything that you have in place that you're telling yourself repeatedly before, those kinds of situations, or a process you have in place that helps you stay poised and grounded or anything like that? What's that look like in situations where you've been down and had to come back? And I mean, eyes are all on you. This is where quarterbacks make their money. What's that look like mentality wise?
Yeah, I think that the most helpful thing in those situations is just truly it's cliche, but like the one play at a time mentality that it's a big moment, but it's also really not like you're getting a play call and you're executing it and trying to just stay task oriented in the moment as much as possible. When I've done that in my playing career, like I've played my best in those moments. Not that it always goes your way, like it never will always go your way unless you're Patrick Mahomes. It seems I've never
Oh yeah.
never seen anything like that. But yeah, like because I mean I've been, uh, like those, like I mean each situation is different. But like the Penn State game, it wasn't anything crazy. Like we were hanging in there, and our defense was playing lights out, and we kicked like a couple field goals. Like we were getting to the point where we needed to score a touchdown, but that we just kind of stayed true to like, hey, every play, let's just try and do it as best we can, and called a perfect play at the perfect time and got the right coverage, and we were able to hit a shot there at the end. But it was like nothing. It was no extraordinary effort by myself or anyone. It was kind of just a collective staying true to it, staying true to the process, and trusting that good things will happen. And it was the same thing that Wyoming game this past season. It was, if anything, it was like it was a sloppy, weird game for
Yeah.
the second, third quarter. Really, offensively, we got off to a super hot start. I got off to a super hot start, and then we had this lull, where it was nothing that Wyoming had a great defense. Don't get me wrong, but like it was nothing they were doing. Nothing was clean, or as clean as it needed to be, and yeah, like nothing changed. We just executed better on that last drive and were able to go down and kick the winning field goal. So, like it's just don't let the moment become bigger than it is. Like it's the same plays you practiced all week. It's the same plays you've been running since day one of spring football. Just go play ball.
Absolutely. And yeah, man, just starting to wrap up now. Something that really wanted to get in with you. Another thing that you have probably answered questions on like 9,000 times. The Grateful Dead. I know you've been, again, like I said, asked about it a bunch of times, but I am a Dead fan myself.
All right.
I'm a Dead fan by way of John Mayer.
Okay.
This past June, I got to go see them in the Sphere, and I mean,
It's incredible.
words just can't describe it. I mean, I got the concert poster right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard you say that one of your friends lived in Jerry Garcia's, old house.
Yeah.
Your graduation party was at um, Phil Lush's Terrapin's Crossroads.
Yep.
So it's like ingrained in you. I mean, I said I'm a fan by way of John Mayer. You're a homegrown kind of fan. When did you become a fan? What's your fandom like right now? Favorite song? And has it ever creeped into one of your pregame playlists at all?
um, yeah. I honestly like I didn't grow up a Grateful Dead fan. Like I knew about the Grateful Dead because of where I lived and stuff. But like my parents, like my dad especially, big music fan, but he's older, so like he was more of like Beatles, Rolling Stones. He's seen the Dead a handful of times, but was never at the level of fandom that a lot of people in the Bay Area are. When I got to high school, though, I had a high school buddy that introduced me to them, and it was really like when I got to like maybe my second year of college that I think it was like probably over COVID that I started to really listen to like the more like live shows, and you actually get to see what it's really about. Like if you're a casual fan, like, and you just turn on Casey Jones, like from the album,
Yeah.
like it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a good song. I don't like this doesn't blow my hair back. I don't get the bus. But it's like when I had the time over COVID to like really listen, like turn on a show and listen to it, and it's just like, damn, like that was really good. And then you go to the next one, and it's the same songs, but they're all different. And then that was like how it really developed for me. And obviously on top of it, like I just had like there's a pride there of their front. They live pretty close to me. And yeah, I saw him at the Sphere in July, so I must have missed you by a week or two.
Nice.
That was awesome, 4th of July, so it was super cool. Uh,
Wow.
and yeah, they're definitely on my pregame playlist, especially like my chill. I have my game day chill playlist and then my game day like pump up. They're not on the pump up, but the chill, yeah, they're. I'm really, I really like. I like Deal right now, just because. Yeah, I mean it's a good song. They're all, you know how it is. Like there's songs that kind of take over for a month or whatever and become like you try and find every damn version of it. And
Oh my God, yeah,
yeah, like
absolutely.
my current song right now that I'm really into is Deal.
So, Dead and Co fan also.
Oh, oh yeah, I love John Mayer. Like he's because like I know a lot of the older Dead fans like I understand. I guess like this, like he'll never be Jerry Garcia, which is true, obviously, but the dude's pretty damn incredible. He's so
Yeah,
talented.
man.
Just I
Yeah,
love it. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So, just kind of wrapping up here so we could get you out of here. Go ahead and talk about where you're at with things right now and what things are looking like right now in the future for you.
yeah. Unfortunately, hurt my elbow, my right UCL, so throwing arm at the end of this past season required surgery. So had that done at the University of Iowa because the surgeon for the football team is really good. Dr. Wolf, he's who did my shoulder. He's a kind of upper extremity throwing athlete specialist. And so there's just a comfort there that decided to do it here and doing my physical therapy. And yeah, just kind of in a all out sprint to try and recover for the pro day. Unfortunately, I was going to go down to the Hula Bowl, got invited to that, but like obviously couldn't do that. So yeah, just in a sprint to try and get back and get healthy for the pro day, and then obviously at that point see where things go. But just more than anything, just want to run the race is in a way that run the race in a way I'd be proud of, and whatever happens happens. But just want to get back healthy as soon as I can.
Awesome, man. Sounds good. Well, just want to go ahead and thank you again for joining me. And we're all wishing you luck and hope for the best.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. This was great.